While the world watched giants of football crash into each other, one man rewrote the laws of motion. He didn't just run past defenders, he disappeared from them. Barry Sanders, the most electrifying running back of all time. And his story isn't just about touchdowns or trophies. It's about silence, struggle, and the art of vanishing when the world wants more. If you like NFL content like this, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. While most runners relied on brute force, Barry Sanders relied on something else: illusion. He didn't run through defenders. He ran around their understanding of motion itself. Every carry was a trick, a blur, a split-second magic act performed on the unforgiving grass of the NFL. In the 1990s, when football was all grit and power, Barry Sanders looked like a ghost. Defenders lunged for him and caught nothing but air. Helmets turned, bodies twisted, ankles gave way. Even the Minnesota Vikings once had their linemen chase live chickens at practice, hoping to mimic what no drill could teach: how to catch Barry Sanders. Their coach, Jerry Burns, half joking, once told officials to check Sanders' jersey, convinced it was coated in silicone. Nothing else could explain how hands kept slipping off him. Former teammate Mike Utley once said watching him was like watching water flow through cracks in a sidewalk. Impossible to predict, impossible to stop. But what truly set Sanders apart wasn't the numbers, it was how he made them happen. He didn't just evade defenders, he dismantled their confidence. He turned 5-yard losses into 50-yard highlights. He made Hall of Fame linebackers question physics itself. Mike Singletary, one of the fiercest defenders of his era, once admitted that facing Sanders was like chasing a shadow, one that could cut, stop, and accelerate faster than human bodies should. Thanksgiving Day, 1991. Lions versus the Bears. Sanders takes the handoff, disappears into a tangle of bodies, then reappears on the other side untouched. Two Bears defenders crash into each other. The crowd erupts. Sanders keeps running as if gravity no longer applies to him. He repeated that same defiance over and over. 237 yards in a single game without a touchdown. 2,000 yards over 14 straight games. A playoff run that brought Detroit its only postseason victory in decades. Every cut, every spin, every juke was an act of rebellion against predictability. Physically, Sanders shouldn't have been this dominant. He was short, compact, 203 pounds of mystery. Yet that low center of gravity made him unshakable. He could stop and start like a flickering light, his legs blurring faster than defenders' eyes could track. Chris Spielman said tackling him felt like trying to grab a greased bowling ball that could change direction at will. And through all the chaos, he stayed quiet. No touchdown dances, no trash talk, just a soft handoff of the ball to the ref and a walk back to the huddle. In an era of ego and spectacle, Sanders was humility in motion. It begins in Wichita, Kansas. A small house, 11 children, one roof that always needed fixing. Barry was the 7th child, quiet, shy, and endlessly hungry. His father, William Sanders, was a roofer, hard as the nails he worked with. There was no complaining in the Sanders household. You worked, you earned, you proved. Barry's childhood wasn't built on glory, it was built on grit. Days on the roof under the Kansas sun, bar on his hands, sweat in his eyes. Nights spent watching football on a flickering TV while his father spoke of toughness. In that silence, a fire grew. He wasn't the biggest, wasn't the loudest, but when Barry moved, the world seemed to pause and then lose track of him completely. At Wichita North High School, Barry wanted to play running back. Coaches said no. They made him a defensive back. He waited. When his older brother Byron graduated, the spot opened. Barry finally got the ball, and the field exploded. In his first game as a starter, he ran for 274 yards and 4 touchdowns. By the end of that season, he had 1,417 yards in just 7 games. But when offered extra carries to chase the state rushing record, he refused. For Barry, glory never mattered, movement did. Colleges didn't swarm him with offers. He was too short, too soft-spoken, too unassuming. Only a few schools called: Wichita State, Tulsa, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State. He chose Oklahoma State. Quietly, that decision would ignite a legend. In Stillwater, Barry wore number 21 and stood in the shadow of Thurman Thomas, one of the best running backs in college football. For 2 years he waited, he returned kicks, he took hits, he studied every move. But when Thomas left for the NFL in 1988, Barry stepped into the light. The world stopped to watch. That year wasn't just good, it was unreal. 11 games, 2,628 rushing yards, 37 touchdowns, 5 straight 200-yard games, 4 games over 300 yards. No one had seen anything like it. He ran with chaos and perfect control, spinning, ducking, vanishing between defenders who never touched him. He wasn't running from opponents. He was escaping physics. Barry won the Heisman Trophy, the Maxwell Award, and the Walter Camp Award. Every vote, every voice agreed. This was the greatest season a college running back had ever played. When he learned he'd won the Heisman, he was in Tokyo preparing for a game, hearing it through a satellite connection. Even then, he downplayed it, saying others deserved it more. That was Barry, a storm wrapped in silence. But the Detroit Lions were broken when they found him. No championships in decades, no roar left in the Silverdome. They needed a miracle. They got Barry Sanders. In the 1989 NFL Draft, the Lions picked him 3rd overall. He didn't even show up to training camp at first, locked in a contract dispute. But when he finally took the field, it was clear Detroit had never seen anything like him. His first professional carry went for 18 yards. By his last game that season, he had 1,470 rushing yards and 14 touchdowns. He could have taken the rushing title that year, just 10 yards away, but he refused to re-enter the game. That wasn't who he was. He didn't chase records, he chased perfection. From 1989 to 1998, Sanders turned the Detroit Lions, a forgotten team, into an event. He led the NFL in rushing yards 4 times. He scored 99 rushing touchdowns. He was named to every Pro Bowl, every All-Pro team. In 1991, he carried the Lions to their first playoff victory since 1957. That same year, he dedicated a win to a paralyzed teammate, Mike Utley. Even in triumph, there was humility. Even in celebration, restraint. In 1994, he was the league's Offensive Player of the Year. In 1997, he rushed for 2,053 yards, one of only a few men in history to ever break 2,000 in a season. He shared the MVP award that year with Brett Favre. He did it all without trash talk, without arrogance, without asking for the spotlight. When defenders tried to shake his hand after games, he often just nodded and walked away. Not out of disrespect, but because words couldn't keep up with what he'd just done. There were moments when time seemed to freeze. That 47-yard run against Dallas in the playoffs. The spin, the fake, the sprint. It wasn't planned. It was instinct, pure and blinding. Or the 85-yard burst through the Patriots' defense. 1 cut, 2 missed tackles, gone. Commentators ran out of superlatives. Fans ran out of breath. He made the impossible look routine. Even his mistakes became highlights. When he slipped, he recovered faster than most could react. He made defenders fall without contact, made them question their own footing, their own skill. He wasn't running to escape them. He was running because he had to. The seasons marched on, and Barry Sanders was no longer just a rising star. He'd become the heartbeat of the Detroit Lions. Player defenses feared, the one who could change the outcome of a game with a single electrifying run. In 1992, Sanders faced both triumph and challenge. On September 13th, he carried the ball 26 times for 66 yards against the Minnesota Vikings. The following week, the Lions fell 13-10 to the Washington Redskins, with Sanders gaining only 34 yards on 14 attempts. Yet against the Cincinnati Bengals on November 22nd, he exploded for 151 yards and a touchdown, surpassing Sims's franchise record with 5,202 career rushing yards. He closed the season strong with 104 yards against the San Francisco 49ers. Despite his individual brilliance, the Lions struggled, finishing 5-11, missing the playoffs, proving that even greatness alone could not carry a team. In 1993, Sanders appeared unstoppable, poised to claim the NFL rushing title. Then the cruel hand of injury struck. On November 25th against the Chicago Bears, he rushed for 63 yards before leaving with a torn MCL. Later, it was revealed he had also torn his posterior cruciate ligament. The injury sidelined him for the final 5 games of the season. Yet his legacy only grew. In his final contract year, he signed a 4-year, $17.2 million deal, making him the highest-paid running back in the league. Though he started only 11 games, he still finished 5th in rushing yards and 2nd in rushing yards per game, earning Pro Bowl and second-team All-Pro honors. The Lions made the playoffs but fell to the Green Bay Packers in the wild-card round. Sanders, cleared to play, ran 169 yards on 27 attempts. Postseason high for him, yet it was not enough. 1994 was a season of redemption and awe. He struggled in the opener against the Vikings, gaining just 16 yards on 12 attempts. But the next week, he set a career high with 194 yards on 40 attempts against the Cowboys, earning NFC Offensive Player of the Week. On September 25th, he electrified the crowd with a 39-yard touchdown run against the Patriots, spinning past defenders in a moment of artistry. Against the Buccaneers, he amassed a staggering 237 yards, the most in a game without a touchdown. By season's end, he'd rushed for 1,883 yards on 331 carries, just shy of 2,000 with a total of 2,166 scrimmage yards. He claimed the NFL Offensive Player of the Year, Pro Bowl, and first-team All-Pro honors. Even in the playoffs against the Packers, Sanders faced a crushing defeat, recording -1 rushing yards. Yet his brilliance could not be denied. Sanders' brilliance never waned. In 1995, he powered through games with 1,500 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. Yet the Lions' playoff hopes faltered against the Eagles in a 58-37 loss, the highest-scoring postseason game at the time. The next season, he led the league in rushing yards with 1,553, demonstrating a rare consistency and dominance. By 1997, the Lions had a new coach, Bobby Ross, and Sanders faced a season that would cement his legend. Against the Buccaneers and Colts, he shattered records, passing Jim Brown and Eric Dickerson to become second all-time in career rushing yards behind Walter Payton. He became the first running back with 10 consecutive 100-yard games in a single season, 3 touchdown runs of 80-plus yards. In the final game against the Jets, he eclipsed the 2,000-yard mark, finishing the season with 2,053 yards on 335 carries. He won the NFL MVP, NFL Offensive Player of the Year, and Burt Bell Award. Even as Sanders achieved personal glory, team success remained elusive. Postseason battles against the Buccaneers ended in frustration, with injuries and misfortune preventing the Lions from advancing. In 1998, Sanders recorded 1,491 rushing yards, a fourth-place finish in the league, and was named to his 10th Pro Bowl. The Lions struggled again, posting a 5-11 record. Then, in July 1999, the world of football was stunned. Barry Sanders, at the peak of his powers, retired. A simple letter to the Wichita Eagle announced his departure. He left healthy, just 1,457 yards shy of Walter Payton's all-time rushing record. Could Sanders have broken records, played in a Super Bowl? His father praised the decision, calling it courageous. Sanders himself later revealed the reason: frustration with the team's direction, the management, and the lost chance to achieve the ultimate team goal. Financial repercussions followed, with disputes over bonuses and contracts. Yet Sanders walked away, a man in control of his own legacy. Barry Sanders' name is synonymous with greatness. His NFL records are unmatched. 5 seasons of 1,500-plus rushing yards, 14 consecutive 100-yard games, 25 games with 150-plus rushing yards, and the most negative rushing yards in a career at -952. Awards lined his mantle: NFL MVP, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, 10 Pro Bowls, 6 first-team All-Pro selections, and a place on the NFL 100th anniversary all-time team. Sanders' impact went beyond statistics. His elusive style redefined running back play, electrifying fans and confounding defenses. Despite the glory, he remained humble, never flaunting achievements, never putting himself above his team. He inspired future generations, a standard for both talent and character. Off the field, Sanders' life mirrored his discipline. A devoted Christian, a father of 4, a man who quietly gave back to charities and maintained humility in the public eye. His sons carried forward his legacy, with Barry J. Sanders following in his footsteps on the gridiron. In 2004, Sanders was enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, fitting monument to a career that blended artistry, power, and unparalleled athleticism. The Lions immortalized him with a statue outside Ford Field in 2023, a lasting tribute to a man whose game seemed almost supernatural. Barry Sanders did not just play football, he transformed it. His runs were poetry, his records legendary, and his legacy eternal. He taught football that grace could be brutal, beauty could break tackles, that magic could wear a helmet. Decades later, coaches still show his highlights. Players still study his feet. Fans still gasp at his impossible runs. Barry Sanders remains a paradox, a humble man who created chaos, a quiet presence who defined an era. He didn't just beat defenses, he made them question physics itself. His legacy isn't about what he said or what he won. It's about what he left behind, a blur of motion, a trail of disbelief. In a sport built on noise and violence, he made silence unforgettable. He was the storm no one could touch, the riddle no one could solve, the man who ran like a ghost and never looked back. Barry Sanders, the man who couldn't be caught. Well, that's it for today. Was Barry Sanders the most electrifying running back of all time? Or do you think someone else deserves that honor? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of NFL greatness.